The small stone chapel sat nestled against rolling hills, its weathered walls telling stories of centuries gone by. Inside, soft afternoon light filtered through stained glass windows, casting colorful shadows across the worn wooden floor. In this peaceful corner of rural Italy, time seemed to move more slowly, especially within the walls of St. Cecilia's convent, home to 23 nuns who had dedicated their lives to prayer, service, and quiet devotion. Among them was Sister Maria Teresa, her 83 years etched in the gentle lines of her face. She moved slowly now, her once nimble fingers curled slightly with arthritis, but her eyes, bright blue and clear as a summer sky, still sparkled with an inner light that touched everyone she met. On this particular Tuesday, like every Tuesday for the past 60 years, Sister Maria Teresa made her way down the corridor toward the common room after afternoon prayers. The other sisters were busy with various chores, tending the garden, preparing dinner, or working on embroidery for the local orphanage. The common room would be empty, just as she preferred it for these precious stolen moments. As she rounded the corner, her heart quickened slightly at the sight of the old upright piano tucked against the wall. It wasn't much to look at, the dark wood scratched from decades of use, some keys slightly yellowed with age, but to Sister Maria Teresa, it was more precious than gold. She settled onto the bench with a soft sigh, her habit rustling as she arranged herself. For a moment she simply sat, eyes closed, hands resting in her lap. Anyone watching might have thought she was praying. In a way she was, communing with something beyond herself, preparing for the conversation she was about to have with the instrument before her. When she finally placed her hands on the keys, she didn't immediately play. She felt the cool ivory beneath her fingertips, a sensation that had become as familiar as the rosary beads she carried. Then slowly she began. The notes of Bach's Prelude in C major filled the room, hesitant at first as her stiff fingers found their way, but gradually gaining confidence. The music flowed from her hands as naturally as breathing. Few who saw Sister Maria Teresa shuffling through the convent halls, quietly helping with chores or spending hours in prayer, would have imagined the transformation that took place when she sat at this piano. Sister Lucia, the youngest nun at the convent at just 26, paused in the doorway, dustcloth in hand. She had only joined the order 3 years ago, and still found herself captivated whenever she stumbled upon these private concerts. She watched as Sister Maria Teresa's body seemed to shed its years, straightening, swaying slightly with the music. Her hands, which sometimes struggled to button her own cardigan, now danced across the keys with a grace that seemed almost impossible. As the final notes hung in the air, Sister Lucia couldn't help but break the silence. "That was beautiful," she said softly. "I've never heard anyone play like that." Sister Maria Teresa turned, startled. A faint blush colored her cheeks. "Oh my, I didn't realize I had an audience." "I'm sorry for interrupting," Sister Lucia said, stepping into the room. "I was just passing by and couldn't help myself." "Where did you learn to play like that?" Sister Maria Teresa patted the bench beside her, inviting the younger woman to sit. As Sister Lucia settled beside her, the elderly nun's eyes took on a faraway look. "I was very young," she began, her voice soft with remembrance. "Just a little girl in Florence. My father was a carpenter who made furniture for wealthy families. One of them had an old piano they were replacing, and they gave the old one to my father as partial payment for a dining table he had crafted." She smiled, fingers lightly tracing patterns on the keys without pressing them down. "None of us knew how to play. My mother thought we should sell it. We could certainly have used the money, but my father insisted it was a gift from God." Sister Lucia listened, entranced both by the story and by seeing this new side of a woman she thought she had come to know well during her 3 years at the convent. There was a music teacher who lived nearby. She had studied at conservatories in Vienna and Paris before the war, the first one, mind you. Sister Maria Teresa chuckled softly. She was getting older and didn't have many students anymore. When she heard about our piano, she offered to teach me in exchange for my mother's bread. "We baked the best bread in the neighborhood, you see." "And you were a natural?" Sister Lucia asked. Sister Maria Teresa's laugh was like the tinkling of small bells. "Heavens, no. I was terrible. My fingers felt like wooden sticks. I wanted to quit after the very first lesson." Her expression grew more serious, but my teacher, Signora Bianchi, she told me something I've never forgotten. She said music isn't about being good right away. It's about loving it enough to keep playing even when you're not. She demonstrated playing a simple scale, her arthritic fingers moving carefully but precisely. So I practiced. Every morning before school and every evening after chores. My brothers complained endlessly about the noise. What did you want to become? Sister Lucia asked. A concert pianist? Sister Maria Teresa was quiet for a moment. There was a time, she admitted. Signora Bianchi believed I could do it. When I was 16, she arranged for me to audition for the conservatory in Rome. Her eyes twinkled with the memory. I was so nervous I nearly fainted right there on the stage. But somehow my fingers remembered what to do even when my mind went blank with fear. You got in? Sister Lucia's eyes widened. Sister Maria Teresa nodded. With a scholarship too. My parents were so proud, though terrified about sending their daughter to the big city alone. But you didn't go. It wasn't a question. Sister Lucia knew the answer. Sister Maria Teresa was here after all in this small convent, not performing in grand concert halls. No, the elderly nun confirmed. 2 weeks before I was supposed to leave, my mother fell ill, very ill. My father was working double shifts to pay for doctors, my brothers were still in school. She shrugged, the gesture somehow encompassing an entire life's worth of choices and circumstances. Someone had to care for her and run the household. You gave up your dream, Sister Lucia said softly. Sister Maria Teresa looked surprised. I didn't see it that way. Family comes first, that's what my mother always taught us. It wasn't even a question. She ran her fingers gently over the keys again. I kept playing, though. The parish priest heard me practicing on the church piano one day and asked if I would play for Sunday Mass. Her face brightened at the memory. The first time I played for the congregation, watching them sing with the music I was creating, that felt like a different kind of dream coming true. Like maybe God had a different path for my hands than the one I had imagined. And your mother? Did she recover? Sister Lucia asked. She did eventually, but by then I had found a new purpose in the church. The music I played there touched people's hearts in a way that I don't think it would have in a concert hall. In prayer and music I found something I hadn't even known I was looking for. She began to play again, this time a gentle, simple melody that Sister Lucia didn't recognize. I entered the convent when I was 23. My mother had recovered enough that my younger sister could help her, and I felt the calling growing stronger each day. My parents didn't understand at first, especially my father, who still dreamed of seeing me perform at La Scala. Her smile was tender with old memories, but they came to accept it. And when this convent needed someone to play for services, it seemed God had made sure my training wouldn't go to waste after all. Sister Lucia watched the elderly nun's hands, noticing how despite the swelling at the joints and the slight tremor, they still found each note with precision and feeling. Do you ever regret it? Not becoming a concert pianist? Sister Maria Teresa stopped playing and turned to face the younger woman fully. The path not taken always holds some mystery, some wonder about what might have been. That's natural. But regret? No. She shook her head firmly. Music has been my companion through every day of my life. It has been my prayer when words failed me, my comfort in sorrow, my expression of joy, and it has served this community for 60 years. She gestured around the humble common room with its simple furnishings and sunlight streaming through windows that had witnessed generations of prayers. Perhaps in another life I played in grand halls for important people. But in this one I've played for God and for my sisters here. That seems the greater privilege to me. The dinner bell rang in the distance, its clear tone cutting through their conversation. Sister Maria Teresa carefully closed the piano lid and rose from the bench with the slight stiffness that accompanied all her movements now. We should join the others, she said, but paused to rest her hand once more on the piano's worn wood. You know, Sister Lucia, I believe there are many ways to live a full life. The important thing is to recognize the gifts God has given you and use them with love, wherever you are. She patted the younger nun's hand. Now come, Sister Agnes has made her special minestrone today, and we shouldn't keep her waiting. As they walked slowly toward the dining hall, Sister Lucia found herself seeing the elderly nun in an entirely new light. Behind the quiet, humble exterior was an artist who had chosen a different stage for her talents, one no less meaningful for being less visible to the world. What Sister Lucia didn't know, what none of them could have guessed, was that the world would soon discover what had been hidden within these stone walls for decades. The hands that had chosen to serve in quiet devotion still held music that would, against all odds, find a much larger audience than anyone could have imagined. The first signs of change came with the arrival of spring. As the garden beds around St. Cecilia's convent erupted with new life, signs of another kind of change were unfolding within its walls. Mother Catherine, who had led the convent for 22 years, was stepping down due to her advancing age and failing eyesight. The announcement came during morning prayers, her voice steady despite the emotion evident in her eyes. "Sisters," she said, her hands clasped before her, "for over 2 decades, it has been my greatest honor to serve as your Mother Superior, but as our Lord teaches us, to everything there is a season. The time has come for new leadership to guide our community forward." A murmur ran through the gathered nuns. Sister Maria Teresa, sitting in her usual spot near the back where she could slip out easily when her arthritis flared, felt a pang of loss. Mother Catherine had been a dear friend for most of her life, and a supportive leader who understood the small joys that made life within the convent walls rich and meaningful. "Sister Veronica will be installed as Mother Superior next week," Mother Catherine continued. "I have every confidence that she will lead with wisdom and grace." Sister Maria Teresa glanced across the chapel at Sister Veronica, whose face remained composed in prayer. At 47, she was relatively young for such responsibility, but her dedication to the order was unquestionable. She had joined the convent at 18 and risen quickly through responsibilities, most recently overseeing the renovation of the East Wing into a small medical facility for aging sisters. "May we all support her as we continue our work in God's service," Mother Catherine finished, making the sign of the cross. That evening, Sister Maria Teresa made her way to the common room as usual. The weight of the day's news sat heavily on her heart, and she longed for the comfort of the piano. Music had always been her most honest prayer, the way she could express to God what words could not contain. Her fingers found a melancholy Chopin nocturne, one that spoke of endings and beginnings, of the beauty in change even when it brings sadness. She played softly, lost in the gentle rise and fall of the melody, letting the music wash away her worries about what this transition might mean for their small community. She didn't notice Sister Veronica standing in the doorway until the final notes faded. When she looked up, the younger nun was watching her with an expression Sister Maria Teresa couldn't quite read. "That was lovely," Sister Veronica said, stepping into the room. "Chopin's Nocturne in E-flat, isn't it?" Sister Maria Teresa nodded, surprised. "You know your classical music." "My mother was a music teacher," Sister Veronica replied, moving closer to the piano. "I grew up surrounded by it, though I never had the patience to practice properly myself." She studied the old upright with a critical eye. "This instrument has seen better days." "It has its quirks," Sister Maria Teresa admitted, running a hand affectionately over the worn wood. "The G above middle C sticks sometimes, and it goes out of tune if the weather changes too quickly. But it's been a faithful friend." Sister Veronica nodded absently, her mind seemingly elsewhere. "We're making many changes to improve life here, especially for our aging sisters. The medical room is almost ready, and we'll be rearranging several spaces to make them more accessible." Something in her tone made Sister Maria Teresa's heart beat a little faster. "Changes are often necessary," she said carefully. "Indeed," Sister Veronica agreed. "I've been thinking the common room could better serve as an expanded health station. We need space for physical therapy equipment, and the southern exposure makes it ideal." Sister Maria Teresa's hands tightened slightly in her lap. "And the piano?" Sister Veronica's expression softened slightly. "We could move it to the chapel, perhaps, though it's quite old, and the chapel already has the organ. With our limited budget, we may need to make difficult choices about what we can maintain." "I see," Sister Maria Teresa said quietly. "I've noticed your hands," Sister Veronica continued, her voice gentle but matter-of-fact. "The arthritis seems to be getting worse. Sister Agnes mentioned you were in considerable pain after playing at Easter Mass." Sister Maria Teresa looked down at her hands, the swollen knuckles, the slight bend of fingers that once moved like lightning across the keys. It was true. Playing often brought pain now, sometimes enough to keep her awake at night. But it was a pain she had willingly embraced, a small price for the joy the music brought her. Dr. Rossetti suggested that repetitive motions like piano playing could accelerate joint damage. Sister Veronica added, "As your new Mother Superior, I must consider your health above all else. Music is also medicine, Sister Maria Teresa said softly. For the soul, if not the body. Sister Veronica placed a hand on her shoulder. I understand this is difficult, but we must all make sacrifices as we age, accepting what we can no longer do and finding new ways to serve. Perhaps you could mentor our younger sisters in other ways. Your wisdom has great value. Before Sister Maria Teresa could respond, Sister Lucia appeared at the doorway. Excuse me, Sister Veronica. The delivery from the pharmacy has arrived and they need a signature. Sister Veronica nodded. We'll continue this conversation later, she said to Sister Maria Teresa, then followed Sister Lucia out. Alone again, Sister Maria Teresa turned back to the piano. Her fingers hovered over the keys, suddenly aware of the pain that had become her constant companion. Was Sister Veronica right? Was it time to let this go? She began to play again, this time a simple hymn she had played thousands of times over the decades. The familiar notes brought comfort, even as her heart ached at the thought of saying goodbye to this part of herself. The changes came swiftly after Sister Veronica's installation as Mother Superior. The common room was indeed transformed. The comfortable old furniture replaced with medical equipment, exercise mats, and chairs specially designed for those with mobility issues. The piano disappeared one Tuesday while Sister Maria Teresa was helping in the garden. She returned to find the space where it had stood for decades now occupied by a treadmill with handrails. We've stored it in the old supply room for now, Sister Agnes told her gently, seeing her stricken expression. Mother Veronica says we'll decide what to do with it once the renovations are complete. Days turned into weeks and weeks into months. Summer faded into autumn, and the rhythm of life at St. Cecilia's adjusted to the new leadership. Sister Maria Teresa found other ways to fill her days. More time in prayer, helping with the mending, reading to Sister Josephine whose eyesight was failing. But there was an emptiness in her that nothing seemed to fill. Her hands grew stiffer without the regular exercise of playing. The pain remained, but now it was joined by a different kind of ache, one of loss and longing. Have you asked Mother Veronica if you could play occasionally? Sister Lucia suggested one rainy afternoon, as they sorted donated clothing for the parish outreach program, just for short periods perhaps. Sister Maria Teresa shook her head. She believes it's better for my health if I stop completely, and perhaps she's right. She held up a child's sweater, examining a tear in the elbow. Besides, I've heard the piano needs repairs now. One of the legs is unstable after the move. Sister Lucia frowned. But music is part of who you are. I can see how much you miss it. We all face losses as we age, Sister Maria Teresa said, echoing Sister Veronica's words, though they felt hollow in her mouth. It's a chance to practice acceptance and find God's will in new circumstances. But in the privacy of her small room, late at night when the convent was silent, Sister Maria Teresa would sometimes place her fingers on the edge of her simple desk, moving them as if playing the pieces that lived in her memory, Chopin, Bach, Mozart, and the countless hymns that had formed the soundtrack of her religious life. The music was still inside her, even if it could no longer find its way out into the world. As Christmas approached, the absence of her playing became more noticeable to everyone. For decades, Sister Maria Teresa had played carols during the Advent season, filling the convent with music that prepared their hearts for the celebration of Christ's birth. It's just not the same without your music, Sister Agnes sighed as they decorated the small tree in the dining hall. Remember how you used to play Silent Night on Christmas Eve and we would all sing along? Sister Maria Teresa smiled sadly. Perhaps someone could play a recording this year. It's not the same, Sister Agnes insisted. There was something special in the way you played, like you were praying through your fingers. Later that evening, Sister Maria Teresa found herself wandering to the old supply room. The door was unlocked and she slipped inside, navigating between boxes of old hymnals and broken furniture until she found it. The piano, covered with a sheet, pushed against the wall beneath a small window. Her heart racing slightly, she pulled away the sheet, releasing a small cloud of dust that made her cough. The piano looked smaller somehow, diminished by its surroundings. She ran her hand over the closed lid, feeling the familiar scratches and dents beneath her fingertips. Glancing toward the door to ensure she was alone, Sister Maria Teresa carefully opened the lid. Some of the white keys had yellowed even more in the damp storage room, and when she pressed middle C, the sound that emerged was painfully out of tune. She closed the lid gently and replaced the sheet, then made her way back to her room, tears blurring her vision. That night, for the first time since she was a young woman, Sister Maria Teresa questioned the path her life had taken. Had she made the right choice all those years ago, choosing the convent over a career in music? Had she wasted the gift God had given her? As she knelt beside her bed to pray, no words would come. The silence within her was complete, a silence that felt, for the first time in her long life, empty of music. Winter settled heavily over the convent, bringing with it shorter days and a deep, penetrating cold that seemed to seep through the ancient stone walls. Sister Maria Teresa felt the chill more deeply this year. She wrapped herself in extra layers and kept a hot water bottle close. But the cold that troubled her most was the one inside, a hollow space where music used to live. She went about her duties with the same gentle dedication she had always shown, but those who knew her well noticed the difference. The spark in her blue eyes had dimmed. Her soft voice, once quick to join in song during prayers, remained silent more often than not. Even her movements seemed more labored, as though the weight of silence had settled into her very bones. "I'm worried about her," Sister Lucia confided to Sister Agnes one morning as they prepared vegetables for the midday meal. Through the kitchen window, they could see Sister Maria Teresa sitting alone in the garden, seemingly oblivious to the cold as she stared at nothing in particular. "Me too," Sister Agnes sighed, her knife pausing over a half-chopped carrot. "She's fading before our eyes. Dr. Rossetti says her arthritis isn't worse, but she's taking more pain medication than before. It's not her hands that are hurting," Sister Lucia said quietly. "It's her heart." The two women watched as Mother Veronica crossed the garden, pausing briefly to speak with Sister Maria Teresa. Even from a distance, they could see the stiffness in the elderly nun's posture, the way she nodded without truly engaging, her gaze never quite meeting the Mother Superior's. "Mother Veronica means well," Sister Agnes said carefully. "The new medical room has been a blessing for many of our sisters." Sister Lucia's response was interrupted by Sister Josephine bustling into the kitchen, her round face flushed with excitement. "Have you heard?" she asked, slightly breathless. "We're going to be on television." "What on earth are you talking about?" Sister Agnes asked, setting down her knife. Sister Josephine pulled a letter from her pocket with a flourish. "Mother Veronica just told me. The Historical Churches Preservation Society is making a documentary about the oldest convents in Italy. They've chosen St. Cecilia's as one of their features." "A documentary?" Sister Lucia echoed, wiping her hands on her apron. "With cameras and film crews here?" Sister Josephine nodded enthusiastically. "They're filming 5 convents across Italy that were founded before the 16th century. Apparently they're interested in how we maintain traditions while adapting to modern needs. They'll be here for 3 days next month." The news spread quickly through the small community. For some of the younger nuns, the prospect of being part of a documentary brought excitement. For others, particularly the older sisters who valued their privacy and quiet routines, it caused concern. Sister Maria Teresa received the news with the same detached acceptance she had shown toward most things in recent months. When Sister Lucia asked if she was looking forward to the film crew's arrival, she simply shrugged. "I doubt they'll have much interest in interviewing me," she said, turning the page of the prayer book she had been reading without much engagement. "I'm sure Mother Veronica will choose more suitable representatives for our community." Sister Lucia sat down beside her. "You've been here longer than almost anyone. Your stories about the convent's history would be valuable." Sister Maria Teresa offered a small smile that didn't quite reach her eyes. "Perhaps. But history isn't just about who's been somewhere the longest. It's about who has something worth saying." She closed her book and stood slowly. "And I find I have less and less to say these days." As the date of the film crew's arrival approached, the convent hummed with preparations. Extra cleaning was done, small repairs that had been postponed were suddenly completed, and Mother Veronica held several meetings to discuss how they would present their community to the outside world. "Remember that we are not only representing ourselves, but the church and all religious communities," she reminded them during one such gathering. "The crew will be respectful of our daily routines, but they will need access to various parts of the convent, and some of you will be asked to participate in interviews." She held up a folder. "They've sent an outline of what they hope to capture. They're particularly interested in our chapel, the medieval herb garden, and the library with its collection of illuminated manuscripts. They'll also film some of our daily activities, prayers, meals, work in the community. Sister Agnes raised her hand. Will they want music for the documentary? Sister Maria Teresa could... They're bringing their own music director, Mother Veronica interrupted gently but firmly. A professional pianist who specializes in sacred music. He'll provide appropriate background music during filming. From her seat in the back row, Sister Maria Teresa kept her eyes fixed on her folded hands. She didn't see the concerned glances exchanged between Sister Lucia and Sister Agnes, nor the way Sister Josephine's mouth tightened in disapproval. The documentary crew arrived on a crisp March morning. A director, 2 camera operators, a sound technician, and a young woman who introduced herself as the production assistant. With them came a tall man carrying a leather portfolio case, whom the director introduced as Professor Antonio Belli, a renowned pianist and composer of sacred music from the Milan Conservatory. We've arranged for a piano to be delivered tomorrow morning, the director explained to Mother Veronica as they toured the convent. Professor Belli will record several pieces that will be used as background music for the documentary. That won't be necessary, Mother Veronica replied. We have a piano that could be moved to the chapel for the recording. The director looked pleased. Excellent. That will save us considerable expense. Is it in good condition? A flicker of hesitation crossed Mother Veronica's face. It hasn't been played regularly for some months, and it may need tuning. It's currently in storage. Not a problem, Professor Belli assured her. I can assess it, and if necessary, we have a tuner on call who could come tomorrow. And so that afternoon, the old upright piano was carefully moved from the storage room to the chapel under Sister Agnes's supervision. Years of dust were gently cleaned away, and it was positioned near the altar where the natural acoustics of the chapel would enhance its sound. Sister Maria Teresa heard about this development at dinner. She sat very still as Sister Josephine described how 4 strong men had struggled to move the heavy instrument down the narrow corridor, how they had carefully polished its wood until it gleamed in the chapel's soft light. Will you go see it? Sister Lucia asked her quietly as they cleared the dishes after the meal. Sister Maria Teresa shook her head. I have mending to finish tonight. But long after the other sisters had retired to their rooms, she found herself drawn to the chapel like a moth to flame. The moonlight filtered through the stained glass windows, casting pools of colored light across the stone floor. And there it was, her old friend looking somehow more dignified in these sacred surroundings than it had in the common room or the dusty storage space. She approached slowly, almost reverently. Her fingers trailed along its side as she circled it, noting the fresh polish, the way the moonlight gleamed on its dark surface. Glancing toward the door to ensure she was alone, she carefully lifted the lid and pressed a key. The note that rang out was painfully out of tune, but it was a voice she knew well, a voice she had missed more than she had allowed herself to acknowledge. Tears sprang to her eyes as she quickly closed the lid, unwilling to hear more discordant notes from an instrument that had once sung so beautifully under her touch. The next morning, she avoided the chapel during the hours when Professor Belli was scheduled to assess the piano. She busied herself in the library, carefully cleaning the glass cases that housed the convent's most precious manuscripts. But she couldn't avoid hearing Sister Josephine's report later. He says it's not worth repairing, Sister Josephine told the small group gathered in the dining room. Apparently the soundboard is cracked, several hammers are damaged, and the pin block is loose, whatever that means. He said it would cost more to fix than to buy a new one. So they're bringing in another piano after all? Sister Agnes asked. Sister Josephine nodded. It's being delivered this afternoon. Some fancy grand piano that folds up for transport. She lowered her voice. Mother Veronica suggested they might take our old one for parts, but Professor Belli said even the parts aren't salvageable. Sister Maria Teresa quietly slipped away from the conversation, retreating to the garden where the early spring flowers were just beginning to emerge from the cold earth. Like the bulbs that had lain dormant through the winter, she had withdrawn into herself, waiting for a spring that felt like it might never come. The next day, filming began in earnest. The crew moved efficiently through the convent, capturing the ancient architecture, the simple beauty of their communal life, the rituals that had remained largely unchanged for centuries. Sister Maria Teresa kept to the periphery, avoiding the cameras when possible. But late in the afternoon, as she was arranging fresh flowers in the small alcove dedicated to Saint Cecilia, the patron saint of music, the director approached her. "Sister," he said warmly, "we've been hearing from the other nuns that you've been here longer than almost anyone. Would you be willing to share some of your memories of life at the convent for our documentary?" Before she could respond, a commotion from the chapel caught their attention. The production assistant appeared, looking flustered. "We have a problem," she announced. "Professor Belli is ill, some kind of stomach virus. He can't record the music pieces today, and we're on a tight schedule." The director's face fell. "Is it serious? Will he recover by tomorrow?" "The doctor says he needs at least 48 hours of rest," the assistant replied. "We only have the convent for 2 more days. Perhaps we could use recorded music instead," Mother Veronica suggested, joining the conversation. The director shook his head. The whole point was to have original recordings in the actual spaces for authentic acoustics. He ran a hand through his hair in frustration. "This is a disaster. We can't produce a documentary about historic sacred spaces without appropriate music." Sister Maria Teresa stood quietly, her hands still holding the flowers she had been arranging. She watched the concern spread across the faces of the film crew, saw Mother Veronica's brow furrow as she tried to offer solutions that were gently rejected, and then from behind her came Sister Lucia's clear voice. Sister Maria Teresa could play. All eyes turned toward the elderly nun, who suddenly felt the weight of their gaze like a physical presence. "Sister Maria Teresa was our pianist for over 60 years, Sister Lucia continued, stepping forward. "She trained at the conservatory level before joining the order." The director looked at her with sudden interest. "Is this true, sister?" For a moment the chapel fell completely silent. Sister Maria Teresa felt her heart pounding against her ribs as everyone waited for her response. Mother Veronica's expression was unreadable, somewhere between concern and skepticism. Sister Maria Teresa began, her voice barely above a whisper. "I haven't played in nearly a year." "But you could," Sister Lucia insisted, moving to stand beside her. "Couldn't you?" The director looked between the elderly nun and Mother Veronica, clearly sensing the undercurrent of tension. "If Sister has musical training, it might be a wonderful addition to our documentary. Perhaps even a feature segment on how music has been part of convent life through the centuries." Mother Veronica cleared her throat. "Sister Maria Teresa suffers from severe arthritis. Her doctor advised against playing." "It's just a thought," the director said, backing down slightly. "We don't want to cause anyone discomfort." "I can try." The words escaped Sister Maria Teresa's lips before she could reconsider them. Every face turned to her in surprise. "Are you certain?" Mother Veronica asked, her concern now evident. "Your health has not improved by avoiding the piano," Sister Maria Teresa finished quietly but firmly. "My hands hurt whether I play or not. At least this way the pain might serve a purpose." The director's face brightened. "That's wonderful. We could do a test recording this evening to see how it goes." Mother Veronica still looked hesitant, but Sister Agnes stepped forward. "I'll make sure she has her pain medication beforehand, and we can limit the session to 30 minutes. Plans were quickly made. The crew would set up in the chapel after evening prayers to record Sister Maria Teresa, playing several short pieces. If all went well, they would do a more extensive recording the following day. As the others dispersed to their various duties, Sister Lucia remained behind with Sister Maria Teresa, who seemed suddenly overwhelmed by what she had agreed to do. "Are you truly all right with this?" Sister Lucia asked gently. The elderly nun nodded, a mix of emotions playing across her lined face. "I'm terrified," she admitted. "But also, I feel alive for the first time in months." She looked down at her gnarled hands. "I just hope these old fingers remember what to do." "They'll remember," Sister Lucia assured her. "Like riding a bicycle," Sister Maria Teresa chuckled. "I never learned to ride a bicycle, but I take your meaning." She straightened her shoulders. "I should go rest before this evening, and perhaps spend some time in prayer." The hours until the scheduled recording seemed both to crawl and to rush by. Sister Maria Teresa tried to nap in her small room but found herself too restless. Instead, she sat by her window looking out at the garden while her fingers moved silently in her lap, tracing patterns from memory, scales, arpeggios, the opening measures of pieces she had played thousands of times. What if she failed? What if her hands refused to cooperate? Or the pain became too great. What if she embarrassed herself in front of everyone? Worse, what if she confirmed Mother Veronica's belief that she was too old, too frail to continue with the thing she loved most? A soft knock at her door interrupted these spiraling thoughts. Sister Agnes entered with a small glass of water and a pill. "Your pain medication," she said, placing them on the small table. "I thought you might want to take it a bit early, to give it time to work before the recording." Sister Maria Teresa took the pill gratefully. "Thank you." Sister Agnes sat on the edge of the bed. "Everyone is so excited to hear you play again. Even Mother Veronica, though she may not show it." Sister Maria Teresa raised an eyebrow skeptically. "It's true," Sister Agnes insisted. "I heard her telling the director about your Easter Mass performances over the years. How the chapel would be filled with people from the village who came as much for the music as for the service." This was news to Sister Maria Teresa. "She never said anything like that to me." Sister Agnes patted her hand. "She worries about you. Perhaps too much. But her heart is in the right place." She stood. "I'll leave you to prepare. We'll all be praying for you." After Sister Agnes left, Sister Maria Teresa knelt beside her bed, her rosary beads wrapped around her fingers. But instead of the familiar prayers, she found herself making a simple, heartfelt plea. "Lord," she whispered, "let me play just once more the way I used to, not for my pride, but to give voice to the music that has been your gift to me. Let my hands be your instrument today." Evening prayers were shorter than usual, the anticipation in the air almost palpable as the sisters filed into the chapel where the film crew had set up their equipment. The grand piano brought in for Professor Belly stood gleaming in the soft light, its lid raised to catch the perfect acoustics of the sacred space. Sister Maria Teresa sat quietly in her usual spot, trying to calm her racing heart. When the prayers concluded, Mother Veronica addressed the community. "As you know, our original plan has changed due to Professor Belly's illness. Sister Maria Teresa has graciously offered to play for the recording." She turned to the elderly nun with a gentle smile. "We are all grateful for her willingness to share her gift once more, and I ask that we remember the purpose is to create a respectful documentary about our way of life. This is not a performance, but a demonstration of how music has been part of our devotion through generations." The sisters nodded in agreement, many of them smiling encouragingly at Sister Maria Teresa. "Now," Mother Veronica continued, "to minimize disruption to our evening routine, only those directly involved in the recording will remain in the chapel. The rest of us will retire to our rooms for personal prayer time." As the chapel emptied, leaving only the film crew, Sister Lucia, who had insisted on staying for moral support, and Mother Veronica, Sister Maria Teresa found herself alone with the magnificent piano. She approached it slowly, almost reverently. "Take your time, sister," the director said kindly. "Get comfortable with the instrument. We can do as many takes as necessary." Sister Maria Teresa nodded, carefully seating herself on the bench. The keys before her seemed both familiar and strange, wider and smoother than those of her old upright, the action lighter under her fingertips as she gently pressed a few notes. "This is a beautiful instrument," she murmured. "A Steinway concert grand," the director confirmed. Professor Belly insisted on the best. She placed her hands in her lap for a moment, gathering her courage. Then, looking up at the crucifix above the altar, she began to play. The first notes of Bach's Jesu, Joy of Man's Desiring filled the chapel. Her fingers moved cautiously at first, finding their way, remembering patterns long embedded in muscle memory. There was pain, yes, a burning in her joints that she had expected. But there was something else too, something that flowed through her and seemed to lift her hands above the pain. The crew watched in silent amazement as the elderly nun's tentative beginning transformed. Her back straightened, her face softened, and her hands began to move with increasing confidence and grace across the keys. The simple hymn took on new depth, each phrase shaped with a lifetime of devotion behind it. When the piece concluded, there was a moment of reverent silence before the director spoke. "That was..." He seemed at a loss for words. "That was absolutely beautiful, sister. Would you feel comfortable playing something else?" Sister Maria Teresa nodded, surprised to find herself smiling. The pain was there, but somehow distant, overshadowed by the joy of making music again. "What would you like to hear?" "Whatever you feel moved to play," he replied. "This is your moment." Her hands hovered over the keys for a moment of decision. Then, with a deep breath, She began Chopin's Ballade No. 1 in G minor, a piece she had learned as a young woman before the convent, when dreams of concert halls had still filled her head. It was ambitious, technically demanding, far more complex than the simple hymn she had just played. For the first few measures, she was conscious of the cameras, of Mother Veronica's watchful gaze, of Sister Lucia's encouraging presence. But gradually, as the music unfolded, everything else fell away. There was only the piano, her hands, and the notes that had lived inside her for so many decades, waiting for this moment of release. She forgot about the arthritis, forgot about her age, forgot about the year of silence. In that sacred space, time seemed to bend around her, and she was both the young woman who had once dreamed of playing for audiences and the elderly nun who had found a different purpose for her gift. Every joy, every sorrow, every moment of her long life seemed woven into the music as it poured from her fingers. The crew stood transfixed. The sound technician, who had started recording almost as an afterthought, realized he was capturing something extraordinary. The camera operators, sensing the magic of the moment, moved silently to capture different angles. The nun's face lost in concentration, her hands dancing across the keyboard with surprising agility, the play of light through the stained glass windows that seemed to pulse in time with the music. Mother Veronica remained very still, her expression unreadable as she watched the transformation taking place before her eyes. Beside her, Sister Lucia made no attempt to hide the tears streaming down her face. The ballade built to its climax, demanding everything from the performer: strength, delicacy, passion, precision. Sister Maria Teresa gave it all, pushing through the pain, drawing on reserves of energy she had not known she still possessed. And when the final chords resonated through the chapel, fading slowly into a silence that seemed to vibrate with what had just occurred, she bowed her head, suddenly exhausted. The silence held for a long moment, no one wanting to break the spell. Then, from the doorway where other sisters had quietly gathered despite Mother Veronica's instructions, came the sound of soft weeping. Sister Maria Teresa turned to see Sister Agnes, Sister Josephine, and several others standing there, handkerchiefs pressed to their eyes. "I had no idea," the director finally whispered, his own voice thick with emotion. "No idea at all." Sister Maria Teresa looked down at her hands, surprised to find them trembling, the knuckles red and swollen. The pain was returning now, sharper than before, but with it came a deep sense of peace. "Neither did I," she said softly. Mother Veronica stepped forward, and for a moment Sister Maria Teresa braced herself for a reprimand about overexertion or the disruption to their routine. Instead, the younger woman knelt beside the piano bench, gently taking the elderly nun's hands in her own. "Forgive me," she said quietly, so only Sister Maria Teresa could hear. "I thought I was protecting you. I didn't understand what I was taking away." Sister Maria Teresa felt the last wall inside her crumble. "We both wanted what was best," she whispered back. "We just saw different paths to it." The director cleared his throat. "Sister, with your permission, I'd like to change our plans for tomorrow. Instead of just background music, I'd like to make your playing a central feature of our documentary, your story, the lifetime of music within these walls. It's exactly what we're trying to capture about how tradition lives and breathes in places like this." Before Sister Maria Teresa could respond, Mother Veronica rose to her feet, still holding the elderly nun's hands. "I think we should all be guided by what is best for Sister Maria Teresa's health," she said firmly. Then, with a gentle squeeze of the gnarled hands in hers, she added, "And for her spirit." Sister Maria Teresa looked up at the faces surrounding her, the film crew moved by what they had witnessed, her sisters in Christ with tears of joy in their eyes, Mother Veronica with newfound understanding in her gaze, and for the first time in nearly a year she felt truly seen. "I would be honored to play again tomorrow," she said, her voice growing stronger with each word. "Music has always been my most honest prayer. Perhaps it is time I prayed a little louder." The morning after her unexpected performance, Sister Maria Teresa woke to find her hands stiff and swollen. The pain was sharper than usual, a price she had expected to pay. Yet as she slowly flexed her fingers, working through the familiar exercises that had been part of her daily routine for decades before the piano was taken away, she found herself smiling. This pain felt different somehow. It was the honorable ache of having used her gift once more, not the empty throb of loss that had been her constant companion for the past year. Gentle knock at her door revealed Sister Agnes with a breakfast tray and pain medication. "Thought you might prefer to eat here this morning," she said, setting the tray on the small table. "After your exertions yesterday?" Sister Maria Teresa nodded gratefully. "That's very thoughtful. My hands are protesting quite loudly today." Sister Agnes pulled up the room's single chair and sat. "Everyone's talking about your playing." I've never seen Mother Veronica so moved. She stayed up half the night on the phone with Dr. Rossetti, discussing how you might safely return to playing in moderation. Sister Maria Teresa looked up from her tea in surprise. "Truly?" "Truly," Sister Agnes confirmed with a warm smile. "I think she finally understood what music means to you, and to all of us. The way she sees it now, the benefits to your spirit might outweigh the concerns about your joints. And the documentary people? What did they think?" Sister Agnes's eyes twinkled. "The director said they captured lightning in a bottle. They want to record you again today if you're able. They've adjusted their entire shooting schedule to feature your playing more prominently." After breakfast and medication, Sister Maria Teresa made her way slowly to the chapel, where the film crew was already setting up. The director greeted her with genuine warmth. "Sister, I can't tell you how grateful we are for yesterday's recording. We reviewed the footage last night and it's extraordinary. Exactly the kind of authentic moment we hope to capture in our work." "I'm glad," she replied simply, "though I'm not sure I can replicate it today." She held up her swollen hands apologetically. "We understand completely," he assured her. "Play whatever feels comfortable, even if it's just simple hymns. Your connection to the music is what matters, not technical difficulty." Mother Veronica joined them, accompanied by a young woman the director introduced as their social media coordinator. "With your permission," the coordinator explained, "we'd like to share a short clip of yesterday's performance on our production company's social media. It would help build interest in the documentary before its release next year." Sister Maria Teresa looked to Mother Veronica, uncertain. "It's entirely your decision," Mother Veronica said gently. "Our agreement with the production company gives us approval rights over any content shared before the final documentary." "I'm not sure I understand what social media is," Sister Maria Teresa admitted. "Is it like television?" The coordinator explained the concept of online video platforms as simply as she could. "It means people all over the world could see a small portion of your playing, perhaps a minute or two of the Chopin piece." Sister Maria Teresa considered this. The idea of strangers watching her play was strange, almost uncomfortable. She had never sought an audience beyond the convent walls, and yet if her playing could touch others, if you think it might bring people joy, then yes, she decided. Though I don't understand why anyone would be interested in watching an old nun play the piano. The coordinator smiled. Authenticity resonates with people. In a world full of polished performances and manufactured moments, something genuine stands out. The second day of recording went more smoothly than the first, though her hands could not manage the technical demands of another Chopin ballade. Sister Maria Teresa played a selection of sacred music, Bach, Mozart, and traditional hymns arranged with the harmonic complexity that had always been her signature. Between pieces, she shared stories of her life at the convent, the role music had played in their worship, and her beliefs about the spiritual dimension of music. "When I play," she told the interviewer, her eyes bright with conviction, "I feel closest to understanding why God gave us the ability to create beauty. It's a conversation of the heart, beyond words." By the time the film crew packed up their equipment on the third day, promising to return for follow-up interviews once the documentary was in post-production, life at St. Cecilia's was already beginning to shift back toward its normal rhythms. But some changes remained. The piano stayed in the chapel, and Mother Veronica worked with Dr. Rossetti to develop a plan that would allow Sister Maria Teresa to play regularly without exacerbating her arthritis. 20 minutes per day, Mother Veronica told her, with proper warm-up exercises beforehand and ice afterward if there's swelling. And we'll look into the new anti-inflammatory medication Dr. Rossetti suggested. Sister Maria Teresa accepted these terms gratefully. After so many months without music, even 20 minutes a day felt like an abundance of riches. 2 weeks after the film crew departed, Sister Lucia burst into the garden where Sister Maria Teresa was pruning roses, another activity that kept her fingers nimble despite the arthritis. "You need to come see this," she said, slightly breathless with excitement. "Mother Veronica has her laptop set up in her office. The documentary people posted that clip of you playing, and well, you need to see for yourself." Puzzled, Sister Maria Teresa followed her to Mother Veronica's office. Several other sisters were already crowded around the desk watching the small screen of Mother Veronica's computer with rapt attention. "There you are," Sister Agnes exclaimed, making room for her. "You won't believe what's happening." On the screen was a video of her playing Chopin's Ballade, just a 2-minute excerpt, as they had said. But beside the video were numbers that meant nothing to her. "Over 3 million views," Mother Veronica explained, noticing her confusion. "It means more than 3 million people have watched you play in just 10 days. Sister Maria Teresa sat down heavily in the offered chair. 3 million? That can't be right." "It is," the Mother Superior assured her. "And look at the comments." She scrolled down to reveal thousands of messages from viewers around the world. Sister Lucia leaned over and read a few aloud. "I haven't been moved by music like this in years. There's something so pure about her playing. I'm not religious, but this made me feel something spiritual. The way her face transforms when she plays, you can see her whole soul in it. My grandmother had arthritis too, but she never stopped playing. This reminded me of her so much." Sister Maria Teresa listened in stunned silence. She had never imagined her playing reaching beyond the convent walls, let alone touching strangers across the globe. "The production company has been flooded with inquiries," Mother Veronica continued. "Music critics, classical radio stations, even concert promoters wanting to know more about you." "Concert promoters?" Sister Maria Teresa echoed faintly. "But I'm 83 years old with arthritis, and I'm a nun." "Which is precisely why people are so moved," Sister Lucia said, squeezing her shoulder gently. "You're not what they expected." In the days that followed, the convent received dozens of letters, emails, and even floral arrangements addressed to Sister Maria Teresa. Mother Veronica, showing remarkable adaptability for someone who had initially resisted the piano's presence, worked with the documentary director to manage the unexpected attention in a way that respected the convent's primary mission while acknowledging this new opportunity to connect with the outside world. "We've declined all the concert offers," she assured Sister Maria Teresa during their afternoon walk in the garden a month after the video had gone viral. "But there is one invitation I think you should consider." Handed over a letter bearing the official seal of the National Institute for Arthritis Research. "They're holding a benefit concert to raise funds for new treatments," Mother Veronica explained. "They've asked if you would consider playing one piece, just 5 minutes of your time. They believe your story could inspire many who struggle with similar conditions." Sister Maria Teresa read the letter carefully. "They would come here to record? Actually, they're asking if you would travel to Rome for a live performance. It would be just one evening, and they would arrange comfortable transportation and accommodation suitable for our order." Sister Maria Teresa was silent for a long moment, considering Rome, a live audience. It was so far removed from anything she had experienced in her 60 years at the convent. "I understand if you don't feel called to do this," Mother Veronica added gently. "There is no pressure. Your first commitment is to our community and your own well-being." "When I was 16, Sister Maria Teresa said slowly, I was offered the chance to study at the conservatory in Rome. Life took a different turn, as you know." She looked out over the garden, at the convent that had been her home for most of her life. "Perhaps God works in circles sometimes, bringing us back to moments we thought were lost forever." She turned back to Mother Veronica with a gentle smile. "I would like to play for them, not for myself, but because if my music can help others who live with pain find hope, then it becomes a form of service." The benefit concert was held 2 months later in a moderately sized auditorium in Rome. Sister Maria Teresa, accompanied by Mother Veronica and Sister Lucia, wore the same simple habit she wore every day, though it had been specially cleaned for the occasion. Backstage, surrounded by professional musicians in formal attire, she seemed both out of place and yet perfectly composed. When her name was announced, she walked slowly to the grand piano at center stage. The audience, mostly physicians, researchers, and patients connected to the Arthritis Foundation, applauded politely. Many had seen the viral video, But online fame rarely prepares one for the unassuming reality of an elderly nun in a simple black habit. She adjusted the bench, flexed her fingers, which had been carefully treated with warm compresses before the performance, and began to play. She had chosen a piece that balanced beauty with technical manageability, Debussy's Clair de Lune. As the familiar dreamlike notes filled the auditorium, the audience fell completely silent. She played not with the desperate intensity of her first return to the piano during the documentary filming, but with a serene confidence, the assurance of someone who had made peace with both her gifts and her limitations. The arthritis was still present, occasionally forcing her to adapt a fingering or simplify a passage, but these small adjustments only added to the humanity of her performance. When the final notes faded away, there was a moment of complete stillness before the audience rose to their feet in thunderous applause. Some were wiping away tears, others calling brava. Sister Maria Teresa bowed her head humbly, then made her way back to where Mother Veronica and Sister Lucia waited in the wings. "You were magnificent," Sister Lucia whispered, embracing her. "Not me," Sister Maria Teresa replied softly. "The music. It has always been the music." In the months that followed, life at St. Cecilia's Convent found a new rhythm. The documentary, when it was released, brought attention not just to Sister Maria Teresa, but to the entire community and their way of life. Donations increased, allowing for better medical care for the aging sisters and needed repairs to the ancient building. The piano remained in the chapel, and Sister Maria Teresa continued her daily 20-minute sessions, occasionally extending them when her hands permitted. But her most important contribution was the new music program she began with Mother Veronica's enthusiastic blessing, teaching basic piano to children from the local village every Saturday afternoon. "Music belongs to everyone," she told her young students as they gathered around the old upright piano that had been restored and returned to the common room. "It's not about being perfect or famous. It's about finding the voice God gave your soul and letting it sing, even if only a few people ever hear it." As she guided tiny hands across the keys, her own gnarled fingers demonstrating simple melodies, Sister Maria Teresa felt a circle completing, from the young girl she had once been, learning from Signora Bianchi, to the elderly nun now passing on not just technique but the spirit behind the notes. The world might know her as the viral sensation, the elderly nun who stunned audiences with her unexpected talent. But here, in this moment, she was simply doing what she had always done, serving God through music, one note at a time, creating ripples of beauty that would continue long after her own hands fell silent.